Good morning, everyone. Welcome to First Things First. I'm Jenna Wolfe alongside Nick Wright, Brandon Marshall, Kevin Wilds. And I just have to say before we start this morning, we as a team have been really good about predicting things the last couple of weeks, months, years, whatever. Nick, you were all over Clayton Kershaw. Brandon, you said the Steelers were going to be great out of the gate. Wilds, that blazer looks fantastic on you, buddy. And I have been on the Cleveland Browns for a super long time. And that is where we start this morning because I think all of our predictions might be coming true. Let us talk about the dysfunction, sort of, as some would say, that is the Cleveland Browns. They are a highly talented team. They are also a highly critiqued team. But big personalities lead to big storylines, and this team appears to have both. Browns reeling after a brutal loss to the Steelers on Sunday. Baker, Odell, the rest of the offensive starters all pulled as soon as that game got out of hand. Yesterday, a very stoic Baker Mayfield was asked about all the criticism in Cleveland. Take a listen.
I don't give a damn what they say. It's within this building. We know we can be better. I know I can be better, and that's how it's going to be handled. The outside noise doesn't matter. They get paid to talk. We get paid to do our work. So that's how it's going to be handled.
Brandon, so when it comes to the Browns, there's a lot of big stars on this team, and because of that, they get a lot of attention. Are the Browns, would you say, criticized too much or not enough?
Jen, I would say that the Browns are criticized too little. You got to think about this. When's the last time we talked about the Jacksonville Jaguars? Like, why don't we talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars? Because they don't do anything. They haven't earned it. That's the only reason why the Cleveland Browns are even part of a discussion is because of who they have. Now, this year, they have earned a little bit of airtime. You know, they started off 4-1, first time they did that in a very long time. Last time they had a winning season was in 2007. So I think they're criticized too little. You know, this team needs to earn it. You know, there's a lot of organizations out there that's been suffering for a long time. They're one of them. And I don't think you deserve to have, you know, any type of airtime, Nick.
Well, Brandon, there's only 7 teams in the whole league that have a better record than Cleveland. 7. There's 4 teams in the AFC that have a better record than them. Unfortunately, 2 of them are in their division, and that's who their 2 losses have come against. I am on the totally opposite side of this. I think this year, the Browns have been criticized and critiqued and broken down far too much. I understood the criticism last year when folks were saying, could they be a dark horse Super Bowl contender? And Baker was kind of talking out of both sides of his mouth, and they fell flat on their face. Baker has done everything off the field this year his critics asked him to do. He has not given any sound bites. We asked him last year not to care about the outside noise. He literally just said yesterday, I don't care about the outside noise. And nobody was picking them to go to the Super Bowl. So 4-2 is not like they've underachieved. So I feel like there are some people that don't like Baker and don't like Odell. And so what we'll do is they get their teeth kicked in by the Ravens in week 1, and we'll pretend like we don't know the Ravens are going to be awesome, and we'll break them down about it. Then they win every football game they play for a month, and they don't show up on the show. Then they get beat down by another great team, and we're finding a way to pick at them. Like, they're not the Jags. They're 4-2.
So who are they?
They're a playoff team right now.
So who are they? So who are they? Are they a good team? They're a bad team?
Yeah. They're a good team that's not a Super Bowl contender, which is what I think that's not underachieving for them. No. How are they dysfunctional?
I just think for me, it's just a lot of dysfunction. Why? Because it's a roller coaster, and in NFL, you can't be on a roller coaster. Look at the Patriots and look at Cam Newton. They get beat by the Denver Broncos. And what did Cam Newton come in and say in his next press conference? Look, man, sometimes it rains, sometimes it pours. You know, I'm gonna bring in my umbrella and I'm gonna come to work. With these guys, it's like, I don't care about this, I don't care about that. Why don't you just come in and say, look, we're just here to play ball and be done with it. That's what the good
exactly what he said. What could he have said there? He's asked about the outside noise. What do you want him to say?
It's not. I'm talking about the organization as a whole. For Baker Mayfield, we're specifically talking about Baker. For me, it's about just getting your job done. There's only two other quarterbacks in the NFL that's thrown multiple interceptions in the last 3 years. There's Jameis Winston and there's Phillip Rivers, and then there's Baker Mayfield. So for me, when I'm talking about Baker, I don't mind the off the field stuff. I don't mind the commercials. The thing for me is get your job done. That's what I want. Yeah. Odell, that's a whole nother topic, and I know we can dive into that a little bit later, but this Cleveland Browns organization, you're not a winner. You have not won.
Brandon, let's dive into it right now. Odell, like Baker, was also pulled from that Steelers game. He also chimed in on the critics yesterday. Critics who didn't like that Odell took his shoes off on the sideline after he was pulled. He was also seen yelling at fans. Let's take a listen to what Odell had to say about it.
I'm pissed, and at this point, I really don't care to keep trying to make myself look like a good guy into the world and all that, because I am who I am. I got pulled out of the game. The coach said this was the best decision. You know, it's 8 minutes left, and for me, I'd rather take my ass whooping like a man. I'd rather take my win the same way. I want to be out there to the last whistle competing. I'm kind of over, you know, trying to play the right thing because, you know, I love them to death, but there's people who have plenty of rings and consider the GOAT, and they do things on the sideline, and other people do things on the sideline, and they get away with it, and it's classified as passion because they may have something behind their legacy or whatever it is. And to me, bro, we love it so much. It means that much.
You know, Brandon, to your point, maybe Odell doesn't have to come out and allude to comments about Tom Brady, the greatest to ever play the game. Maybe he could just stop before he got to the Brady part. But what was your reaction to what Odell had to say?
I mean, he's right. When he talks about the GOAT and, you know, there being a double standard, that's definitely true. But the reality when it comes to Odell is there are some emotional issues there. And I want to use my personal story to kind of highlight what I'm talking about. I see a guy that is conflicted. I see a guy, and I played with Odell. Absolutely love him. Think he's probably the greatest athlete I've ever been around. He was fun to be around every single day in the locker room. But he's conflicted because he's an emotional guy. And for me, my story is this. I knew that the things that made me great also made me weak. But it took me 5 years to understand that. I was on the campus of McLean Hospital in an outpatient program taking dialectical behavior therapy, mentalization therapy, self-assessment, cognitive behavior therapy to learn how to cope and manage different emotions. So for Odell, I think when he realizes that that emotion that he feels that makes him great, that makes him probably one of the most prolific pass catcher that the NFL has ever seen, also holds him down, that also is a hindrance to his chase to greatness, that's when we're going to see the best Odell. I always thought this when we were playing in New York. I was like, man, if this guy can eliminate some of the distractions that he caused him on his own self, how much better can he be? I would like to see Odell go to a whole nother level. He is progressing. Odell, you know, when you look at the sideline antics, he's so much better than where he was. But I don't want to hear him say, well, I don't care about this, I don't care. Just come in and just do what you need to do. Odell is someone who's super passionate about football. He knows who he is, but he's trying to figure out how does this fit within a team, within this world. And I think once he figures that out, he'll go to a whole nother level and he'll be fine.
Look, I'll take you behind the curtain a little bit. When we saw this video of Odell walking around with his socks off or shoes off, I was like, hey, should we do this story? And Brandon in the meeting a few days ago was like, nah, those cleats are super uncomfortable. I'd take mine off. It's a non-story. So, and that's why we didn't do it. We didn't make a big deal of it. Now, unfortunately, everyone in the media doesn't have a Brandon Marshall on their pre-show calls to be like, no, don't do this story. So I think there's a lack of just knowledge from the media because of like, hey, if everyone had you, Brandon, I feel like the Odell sort of hysteria would be tamped down.
Wild, I think you're being too generous. Folks don't like him, so they pick on him. No. I'd love to talk to someone who played with him, who knows him like I do, that says Odell's a bad guy. Yeah. but every teammate of his we've ever talked to has gone from great teammate, passionate about winning, all the way to I literally let him babysit my infant child. So we just ignore that, and we're like, you know what? We don't like him. And as I predicted on Monday, Aaron Rodgers is going to get more of a pass for the pump celebration in a loss where they get dog walked than Odell is going to get for taking his cleats off after the game has been decided and he's been taken out of the game. Because we're just not fair about this stuff. Baker just gave a quote exactly like we demanded he give all year last year. And the question is, why don't we criticize them more? Well, I don't know, because they have the 8th best record in the NFL, and they're actually slightly exceeding expectations this year. That might be why.
Let me ask you a question,
Nick.
Let me ask you a question.
I think we got to do it later, Brandon. Brandon, I think we got to do it later.
Let's hold off 1 second, Brandon. We're going to play a little drawing a blank here. The video I've already rolled. We can't go backwards. The Rays evened things up last night behind an impressive pitching performance from Blake Snell. Struck out 9 over just 4 2/3. So, Brandon, Blake Snell's Game 2 performance last night was blank.
It was nasty. I mean, I would have loved to seen it go a little longer, but it was nasty. I mean, we had our guy Swish on the show yesterday, and he talked about him, and I was like, let me really see what this guy's going to do. And I think he came in. He set his team up for success. I don't know if it's because of the new analytics and the data coming around baseball, but I think he should have stayed in there a little bit longer.
Well, listen, I think it was beautiful, not only because that's the second game in a row I've made money in this series. Told you I liked the Rays last night. But it's beautiful just like Blake Snell is. I mean, can we show a picture of this man? I mean, I think we've got it. I mean, look at this. Oh, he does look like someone I used to know. So it was a beautiful performance by a beautiful pitcher, Kevin Wildes.
I 100% agree. And Brandon, to your point, it was a brief outing because he pitched on Sunday, so we knew we weren't going to get a ton of them. And the Rays like to have a lot of pitchers, so it's sort of like new baseball. I don't think we're going to see like a complete game shutout anymore. You're going to see a lot of people come in for a few innings.
No, leave it up. Nick, you went there. Let's leave it up as long. Let's just marinate on this picture. Nick and his identical twin. It's awesome. We'll switch gears, get back to some football. Antonio Brown is as close as ever to making a return to the NFL. Wait till you guys hear which team is primed to land him. That's next. First things first. Let's talk Antonio Brown. The beleaguered receiver's 8-week suspension is close to ending, and a report yesterday said that the Seahawks are one of a group of teams that are pushing to sign AB now that he'll be eligible to return in Week 9. We heard these rumors before about a potential AB to Seattle move. We've seen AB working out with Russ. So, Brandon, it didn't work out with the Raiders or with the Patriots. We all know why, so we have to wonder, would AB be a good fit with the Seahawks? And if so, why here, why now?
Absolutely. 2 names, Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll. It's one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. Pete Carroll, he built his entire system around the people in that building's strengths. When you go to other teams, it's really stale. There's no swagger. There's no sauce. There's no excitement. When you walk into a Pete Carroll team meeting, there's music playing, people running around the place, balls being shot on the basket. It's one of the most amazing things. And Pete Carroll will come up to you if you're not yourself and say, listen, guy, I did not bring you here to be somebody else. So this is perfect for Antonio Brown. Now, there are boundaries. He will tell you, just don't hurt the team. Now, obviously, we've been talking about this for an entire year. Antonio Brown, there's some things that you just can't do. So I'm confident that this guy is doing everything it takes to make sure he's putting himself and the team in a better situation when he's back on the field. But if he goes to another team, the first thing they're going to say is like, Antonio Brown, tell me about Twitter. Tell me about Instagram. What's your thoughts around YouTube? Are you going to post? When are you going to post? How are you going to post? That's not even going to be a conversation around Antonio when he walks in Seattle. They're just going to say, look, if you want to post, that's fine. Actually, we want you to post. Pete Carroll's going to pull out his phone on the practice field and say, man, I love what you tweeted last night. So Antonio Brown can be himself. Russell Wilson, you got to think about the characters that was around him when he was drafted there. I think this will be a good fit. I think there's other places out there that he would fit well. But it's at the end of the day, it's going to be on Antonio Brown how he approaches things when he gets back out there.
Yeah, he had that structure in New England, and it didn't quite work out. So, Nick, let me ask you this, though. If he does land in Seattle, who then has the more explosive offense? The Seattle Seahawks, where they be in Russ, or your Kansas City Chiefs?
See, you guys always put me in this position. You guys just shoehorn the Chiefs into these conversations.
Shoehorn
so
them
I
away.
look like the ultimate homer. But we know what the answer is. The answer would be the Chiefs. Like, the Chiefs have the better quarterback, and Russ is great. The only quarterback in football better than Russ is the one that plays in Kansas City. They have the better #1 receiver in Tyreek Hill. And both teams would have just added a once great all-pro Steeler that we don't yet know exactly what they have left in Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown. So the answer, you can say, oh, my goodness, all you want, Brandon, but in your heart of hearts, you know the answer to this. The Chiefs have the better tight end, they have the better running backs, and they have the better receiving corps. So the answer is the Chiefs.
I think it's the most predictable. I think it's the most predictable answer, Nick. I really do. I think the Seattle Seahawks, they're more explosive. You can look at the numbers. They have more explosive touchdowns, Nick. You're a stat guy. You like numbers. That's the truth.
Yeah.
Now, of course, you got all these toys and you have Mahomes, but the way the Seattle Seahawks is built is run, 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 and take a shot. They only have Tyler Lockett in the slot to do 2 things. That's it. Everything else is down the field. Seattle Seahawks has the most explosive offense.
Break the tie,
Nick,
Wild.
I think you're right. No, well, I think you're right. I think the answer is the Seahawks, but I'm still on your side, and here's why. The Seahawks are like a sneakerhead with, like, no socks on. It's like, oh, that's really great, but there's a glaring thing that's kind of disgusting about it. The fact that the Seahawks defense is so terrible necessitates them having an explosive offense. They're allowing 471 yards a game. They allow 370 yards through the air, which means, Brandon, if you're a quarterback, you come in and play the Seahawks and you throw for 350 yards, you had a bad game. So the Seahawks are so bad on defense, I think, Jenna, they have to be the more explosive offense.
3 words for you, Wilds. No-show socks. Let's move on to baseball. Our player resume sponsored by Indeed. Upload your resume today. Brandon Lau breaking out of his postseason slump last night. Not 1, 2 opposite field home runs in the Rays Game 2 win. Kevin Cash sticking with him. Never dropped him down that lineup. Nick, you like how this series is going so far?
Perfect time to do it.
Well, listen, I think the Dodgers win tomorrow night. And by the way, America, I'm 2 for 2 on giving you picks. I'm going to give you a parlay this time. The Dodgers and under 8. Walker Buehler holds the Rays to 2 earned over the whole game or over his whole time pitching. We like the Dodgers in a 4-2 win tomorrow night, America.
Never
All
wrong.
right, I like that as well. We're ranking NFL teams on the other side. Nick's tiers. You're going to want to see this. First things first.
Debut of a new segment. Let's go.
On Tuesday, I brought out the herd hierarchy. It's considered an industry leader. What I say normally goes. America, GMs, coaches, just acknowledge my #1 team is #1. This week I had Tampa Bay, a much better defense than, say, Kansas City. And now, as we predicted, the Bucs defense would be great early. The offense about Thanksgiving would be good. And apparently Nick Wright saw this and just... I guess the only doubter of the herd hierarchy in its history. Go ahead. What's wrong with it?
Well, it made me so mad that I have decided that starting tomorrow, I'm going to release my own tiers of the NFL to counter-program this nonsense. So on First Things First, 8 a.m. tomorrow, new segment, the Nick Wright tiers to go up against the herd hierarchy.
Well, look at that. It's 8 a.m. tomorrow, and we are breaking it out. You broke the news yesterday on the herd. We got a new segment. We're calling it Nick's NFL Tiers, where we check in each Thursday with you and see where you've got all 32 teams ranked. Take that, Colin Cowherd. All right, Nick, take it away.
And it might be Wednesdays moving forward. It'll either be Wednesdays or Thursdays at 8 a.m., but it'll be every week. It'll be must-watch programming.
Okay.
Because unlike Colin Cowherd, where anyone can do a 1 through 10 power rankings, we're going to give you all 32 teams. So throw it on the screen, and I'm going to ask you to direct your eyes to the bottom of the screen, and we're going to go up. A reverse eye chart.
No.
So the bottom tier all by themselves, the Jets. We don't need to talk about them anymore. They're the Jets. The next tier is just the NFC
Nick.
East. Just that division as a whole, they're the bottom 2. That next tier is an interesting one. Looking for a coach or a quarterback. Detroit needs a coach. Denver might need both. The Vikings need a quarterback. Houston needs a coach. The Chargers and the Bengals just drafted their quarterback. The Falcons need a coach. The Jaguars need both. And that next tier is where we start to get to the interesting teams. These are intriguing teams, but they're not real playoff contenders. We're talking the Colts, we're talking the Dolphins, the Rams. Hey, the Rams are 4-2. All 4 of their wins came against that second to last tier, the NFC East, so do they even count? San Francisco's too banged up. I have questions about Cardinals and Panthers being a year away. So now let's zoom in on the 4 tiers that really matter. These are the teams we really care about. Again, from the bottom up. Playoffs, but no ring. Each of those 5 teams there has a fatal flaw. In Tampa, in Cleveland, it's about the fact that their quarterbacks melt when pressured this year. Look at the numbers. In Chicago, it's that we know that Nick Foles, I know he once upon a time did win a Super Bowl, and they can get to the playoffs, but they're not going to threaten anyone. The Raiders are a good story. They cap out at about 9-10 wins, and the Bills got exposed for what they are. Now, these top 3 tiers, these are teams that can win the title. Green Bay, you're worried about their offensive line after what you saw, but we know how good they are. Tennessee, we have to respect what they've done since Mariota took over. New Orleans, little concern about Drew Brees aging, but I'm going to give them the respect they've earned over the last couple years. The Patriots are under 500. Why are they there? Because if they make the playoffs, Bill Belichick is such a decided advantage, and Cam will be fully immersed in the offense by then. And then you have the cream of the crop. Seattle, statistically the best offense in football. Defense is terrible. Pittsburgh, I think the most complete team in the NFL so far this year. Baltimore has only lost 3 regular season games the last 2 years, and then there's the champs. So, Brandon, those are your teams that really matter. If we can stay focused on this, I imagine you have no critiques whatsoever because this is obviously a flawless list. But just go ahead.
Stay there. First of all, no, we're not going to stay here. You gave the Jets their own category. That's so disrespectful when you know that I am a Jet guy. Come on, man. That's disrespectful. And then I want to go to your flawed but dangerous thing. We're going to work our way up. Flawed but dangerous. I think you need to also really take the Cardinals and the Rams series. The Rams are doing something they've never done in a very long time, and that's getting it done on the ground. I think this team can be dangerous if they can get back to running that ball the way they did 2 weeks ago. But then the biggest discussion, Wilds, the Tampa Bay Bucks. Really? What do you? It's not even. I keep saying it. I said it all week. It has nothing to do with the Bucks. It has everything to do with you and Tom Brady. What has happened to you and Tom Brady? Did he not give you an autograph? Did something happen? Why do you not respect the Bucks? The Bucks should probably be right underneath the champs and have their own category as GOAT. Now, I'll give you the champs. I'll give you that, right? That's their throne. They earned it. The other teams have to knock them off. But the Bucks can easily be right there, man.
Go ahead, Wilds.
Nick, you know I'm a Nick Tiers guy. I used to get the herd hierarchy. I subscribed to it. I got it sent to me, and I would collect them. And my father collected them in his we've got stacks of herd hierarchies, and we always have. I used to sit on my grandfather's lap, and he used to read me the herd hierarchy. So we are a herd hierarchy family, but not anymore. I unsubscribed, and I'm a Nick Tiers guy. I don't know if you have it sent in the mail, but I was like, but herd hierarchy had Tampa Bay as #1. So I used to think because they were first in run defense and they're tied for second in the league with 22 sacks and they just made Aaron Rodgers basically into a meme, I felt like they deserve to be higher. But I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt because Colin had them up and you have them down. I wouldn't mind if they moved up, especially if they play the Raiders and they beat the Raiders. It feels like they have to move up. They can't be on the same tier as the Raiders.
Okay, well, it says week 7, entering week 7, so we'll see what happens this week. This will be fluid. This will be movement. There will be movement. Unlike my NBA tiers, which it's very hard to create movement on, there will be week-to-week movement on this. But, Brandon, you had an issue with the Bucs. Let me just say this. They are going to deal with legitimate pass rushes over the course of the season and in the postseason. They have shown no ability to deal with that. So if you know that if you pressure Brady, when they've played pass rushes, they've fallen apart. That's what happened. Yeah.
They have a top 5 offensive line. What are you talking about? They have potentially the best center in football. The right tackle, rookie right tackle, is playing lights out. What are you? Yeah, because they were holding calls and they were backing them up 3rd and 12, 3rd and 15.
Man, I don't know.
Let me ask you this question, Nick.
Were you listening to that game? Hold on, real quick.
Disagree
before
with
you
you
ask
there.
me a question, can I just follow? Before you ask me the question, wait. Just on the center, it really did feel like Brady gave Troy Aikman a lot of dirt on the center. Because I'm watching that Bucs-Packers game, and every 15 minutes, Aikman's like, and here's another thing about Ryan Jensen. Brady had to change the way he stands in shotgun because he can't snap it right. Here's another thing. He sweats too much, and Tommy doesn't like that. So I think you like Ryan Jensen more than Tom Brady does. But I interrupted you. What was your question? Go ahead.
No. So here's the deal. All right. I got one question. What do they have to do to move up? Just tell me that, because there's everything they've done this far. You have crushed them. You haven't given them the credit. So what do they have to do to earn your respect and move up to the next level?
Okay, how about this? Beat the Raiders, get to 5-2, have Brady
Let me
look
write this
good.
down.
Beat the Raiders and have Brady look good.
Okay.
And they'll move up, and that's all they've got to do to move up one spot.
What does look good? What does look good mean to you when you say Brady look good? Because your standards are out of this world. So beat the Raiders, Brady look good.
Beat the Raiders and Brady look good. Okay, so let's just. It's been a few weeks since he had a game where he both threw for at least 175 yards and didn't forget what down it was. So let's just check both those.
So can we say 200? Can we say 200?
Let's get through the 225 yards. 225 yards.
225
and you beat
yards.
the Raiders.
Okay.
Beat the Raiders.
Right,
no pick sixes. Okay.
And you're going to give respect
then you can
to
move
Brady.
up. I've got him going to the playoffs. That's more than I had him before the year. I get no credit for
They beat Green Bay and they made him look like a JV team. They made him look like the JV team that the JV Patriots, Wild's JV Patriots play week in and week out.
I understand, but it can't all be about head-to-head record, or else I wouldn't be the only person in America reminding folks that the Bears beat them and have a better record than them. So we can't just do the transitive property. A is greater than B, so B is greater than C. Wilds. It's got to be more than that.
I have my notes. I have my notes.
Keep the notes.
Nick, I, of course, zoomed in on the Cleveland Browns. You ranked them in the tier called playoffs, but no rings. I would have had them a little lower. I think we're starting to figure out why. More headlines for Baker and the boys next. First things first. It's a great tier. Classic NFC East rivalry that's been brewing lately. Daniel Jones and the Giants trying to get their season going. They take on Carson Wentz and the Eagles. Eagles, by the way, have won 7 straight against the Giants. Giants says that stops tonight. 7:30 Eastern on Fox, NFL Network, and streaming on Amazon Prime. All right, it is time to make our picks for Sunday's free-to-play Super 6 contest. Terry Bradshaw putting up $1 million this week. All you got to do, pick the outcome of 6 NFL games. One of the matchups, Seahawks at Cardinals. Nick, give me a winner, and by how many, buddy?
You know what I'm doing right there, Jenna? I'm playing with fire. And that is what Seattle's been doing for the last month. 1 yard away from losing to the Patriots. They need a 4th and 3 to beat the Cowboys. They need multiple 4th down conversions to beat the Vikings. Arizona by 1. Arizona in a nail biter. Finally, they play with enough fire and they get burned. The Arizona Cardinals in the Seahawks unbeaten run, Brandon Marshall.
Oh my goodness, you did it. Look, no, man. Seattle by 6. Is he really putting up this money? Is it his money? Is he paying his debts?
It's his money.
Like if someone
Oh yeah, he's
really?
paid them off. Yeah.
I'm playing this week because I know Seattle's going to win by 6. I'm playing this week.
Okay.
Look, I support, I support individualism and creativity, and I know that Zeke is the one with the feed me tattoo. But I think that Kyler also should go and get a feed me tattoo because he's going to just keep eating. He ate against the Cowboys defense. Now he gets to eat against the Seahawks defense. I agree with Nick. The exact same prediction, Wilds and Nick. Nick is the best predictor in all of America. And now I'm just sort of riding the coattails there. Arizona by 1.
Who's going to stop this offense? Who's going to stop this offense?
High scoring. Bet the over, America.
Their own defense.
To be determined. Get your picks in before kickoff on Sunday. Your chance to be a millionaire. Back to our top story this morning in Cleveland. The highly talented but also somewhat dysfunctional Cleveland Browns off to a hot start this season. Then they get derailed in a bad way this past Sunday by the Steelers. Browns looked all kinds of out of sorts. It was so bad that head coach Kevin Stefanski pulled Baker, Odell, and the offensive starters once things got out of hand. As you'd imagine, a lot of questions and a lot of criticism. Here's Baker Mayfield on how he's handling both.
I don't give a damn what they say. It's within this building. We know we can be better. I know I can be better, and that's how it's going to be handled. The outside noise doesn't matter. They get paid to talk. We get paid to do our work. So that's how it's going to be handled.
Coach Eric Mangini is joining us now. Coach, good morning. Good to have you here. I'll ask you this. Are the Cleveland Browns criticized too much or too little?
Well, first of all, I'm so excited to be part of this new segment, Nick Tears. You know, I'd spell it Tears with me on it. And the idea I'm looking to promote that. I think it'll work. There's a saying in football that we used to have where, I don't know if you guys remember Mae West, the older actress, and her saying was, you know, if you have to tell people you're a lady, then you're not. And I think that's what we're seeing with Baker. If you got to tell people that you're not bothered by outside noise, and you got to keep telling them that then you are. If you weren't bothered by it, you'd pass off the question and you'd move on to the next thing. And you can see it in his face that it bothers him. And in terms of are they the most criticized team or unfairly criticized? I don't think they're unfairly criticized or most criticized at all. When you look at it last year with the high expectations and failure to meet those expectations, they were under constant criticism. This year, they're at a really good point, and they haven't played well against the good teams, and there's going to come with some questions there. But they're overachieving at this point as opposed to last year where they're underachieving. So I don't think they're criticized nearly as much as a team like the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys are easily criticized significantly more than the Browns.
Yeah, because one team stinks and the other team's 4-2. And while they didn't play well against Baltimore and Pittsburgh, the Colts are a pretty decent team. People really like that Colts team until Cleveland whooped them. So I feel like that win counts. How is Baker supposed to answer that question and not be criticized for it? The answer is they're criticized too much. You know how I know it? Because we're talking about this. He was asked about the outside noise. What is he supposed to say that passes muster for you guys? If he says it motivates me, that's no good. It's what he said last year, and we crushed him for it. If he says, I don't hear it, we say you're lying. And if he says, I hear it, essentially admitting I hear it, but I don't care, that's not good enough either. He has to do these media appearances. It is literally in his contract. What is he supposed to say there where he won't be criticized? The answer is, can't say anything. And I will further the point by this, Brandon, and Coach Mangini knows how much I love him. But a theme of this show, when it comes to the Chiefs, Coach, let me throw it back to you, Coach, since I'm mentioning your name. A theme of this year when it comes to the Chiefs is what happened in 2019 might as well have happened in 1919. It ain't got bleep to do with this football season. So the fact that they underachieved last year and Baker fell into the noise last year, I would think, should be totally irrelevant. It's about what you're doing this year. And they have the 8th best record in all of football, and Baker has caused no off-the-field distractions. Now, he hasn't played well. I think he needs to play better, no doubt about it. But what else, Coach, can he do there to not be the subject of scrutiny here?
Well, look, Nick, we all know that it's not always what you say, it's how you say it. And you can look at that video and easily see that it bothers him. And the tone, the demeanor, everything that he gives off in that answer says that it bothers him. And if things don't bother you, then that's apparent too. And you can answer things a lot of different ways. Now, unfortunately for Baker, he's had a history, and a very strong history, of being extremely bothered by criticism. So for people to look at this and be skeptical of his answer, I don't think that's unfair. And even though we say last year doesn't matter, because it doesn't matter, it still provides a framework for the discussion moving forward, and you're still going to compare past performance with future performance. It's not like it disappears from all of our memories. I thought Baker showed a ton of maturity when he was down at the Super Bowl and visited the show. I thought that there was a lot of growth. I think he's shown a lot of growth overall. But at the end of the day, he's not at the point where he doesn't give a damn. We could pretend, because he said it, that he doesn't, but I think we can all see what the truth is.
Yeah, I mean, to answer your question, Nick, you talk about what is he supposed to say. What he's supposed to do is stand up there and say, look, I get it, guys. You know, we're going to get back to work. You know, we had a few good weeks. You know, this one got away from us. We'll be better next week. We're going to work our butts off. That's what you want to hear from your quarterback. That's what you want to hear from the face of your organization. If you don't believe me, all you got to do is go to Foxborough. How did Cam Newton answer his question this week? They just lost to the Denver Broncos. They didn't lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers. What did he say? Look, I get it. Everyone thinks that the sky is falling down, but we're going to be fine. We're going to work our butts off, and we'll get this thing back on track. I am confident. That's all you got to say. You don't got to have what Coach said, all of the attitude and the swagger and all. You don't need that right there, because it's going to backfire. It's an art. We know this. Just like you get paid to be a journalist and ask those questions, those players get paid to sit there and answer it right. That's one of the biggest jobs that you have outside of playing football, is to make sure you do a good job eliminating distractions when you're standing in front of the camera. So for me, there's a lot of room for Baker to grow. I don't want to hear that from Baker, because the reality is he should care what's going on, because in modern football, you don't have 5, 6, 7 years to get it right. You can ask Jameis Winston, you can ask Blake Bortles, you can ask Mariota. You don't get the time. You are going to be fired after this year if you don't turn it around right now. You are behind Jameis Winston and Phillip Rivers. You're behind Jameis Winston and Phillip Rivers for the most picks in the games, double pick games, since you entered the NFL. That is the issue.
Brandon, I got an idea. It definitely bothers him. Coach is right. It definitely bothers him. Last week, they were asking him if he feels affected by the negativity, and he was like, yeah, by you guys at the media. And then his wife's on IG defending him. So the idea that this doesn't defend him, that he's like the quarterback version of Bill Belichick, is just not true. But here's what he needs to do. He needs his own Nick Wright. He needs someone to come up and say everything that he can't say. And I don't think I'm perfectly suited for it, but I've seen it work.
We all need it.
So I'm going to give it my best shot. Because he could say this, or I'll say it to you. You know who's got more completions than the reigning MVP, Lamar Jackson? This guy, Baker Mayfield. You know, I've got 7.2 air yards per completion. You know who that's better than? Oh, Mr. Aaron Rodgers doing memes and losing to the Bucs. And guess what? I got 107 passer rating. It's better than Kyler Murray when I got a clean pocket. So why don't you guys block for me? And you know who's got the worst yards after catch average? The Browns. So I'm throwing the ball. Why don't you guys break a few tackles? Add some yards to good old Baker. And yeah, I'm 4-2, guys. When's the last time the Browns were 4-2 before me? I don't know. I don't remember. I'm Baker Mayfield. I'm great. I got commercials. I'm handsome, and I got a decent beard on me. So, Jenna, that's my audition tape.
Shave the beard.
to be the Nick Wright for Baker Mayfield. I don't think I'm perfectly positioned for it.
And nobody's going to take Baker Mayfield over Lamar Jackson or Aaron Rodgers.
It's got more completions.
Nobody is saying that. That's not what he's saying. He's saying he's his height.
I know no one's going to. Yeah, I'm not. It doesn't. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. He's not a good quarterback. He's not a good quarterback. It's plain and simple. He's not a good quarterback. That's it. End of discussion.
Says he's better than Lamar right here. Better than Lamar. Sorry.
All right. Don't look now, but Antonio Brown, who's been awfully quiet on social media lately, could be ready to make his season debut. Will it work, and where could he end up? That's next. First things first. Coach, stick around.
I was shocked by it. You know, it definitely caught me off guard. And, you know, it was a hard thing for me to hear yesterday, just kind of digesting the news. My heart just hurt all day. Like it was heartbreaking for me.
I felt bad listening and watching that yesterday. An emotional and clearly, as he put it, heartbroken Ryan Fitzpatrick after being benched for Tua down there in Miami. Brandon, what was your reaction to hearing Fitzy say this yesterday?
Yeah, remember yesterday I said it. If I know Fitz, I haven't talked to him, but if I know him, he's sad. He's the ultimate competitor. He loves playing the game. That's why he's still doing it. Fitz has all the money in the world. Fitz has done it. He's been on so many teams. He's moved his entire Brady Bunch family from city to city. He could easily shut it down. He loves to compete. So all this stuff that I was hearing yesterday, oh, Fitz is the ultimate pro. Fitz is going to cheer on Tua. Fitz is going to be great. Yeah, he will do that after he soaks all this in and understands what's happening. So sad day for me. Big Ryan Fitzpatrick fan, my all-time favorite quarterback that I played with. But I love this guy, and I know he'll do well helping out Tua, but it just sucks that he's in this position because if I'm Ryan, I'm looking at it like, you know what? They just expanded the playoffs. We're sitting here right at 3-3. Could we potentially sneak our way in the playoffs, and could it be magical? So sad day, sad day.
Yeah. All right, Coach Mangini back with us now. We're going to take a big turn and talk some Antonio Brown. The often troubled wide receiver's 8-week suspension is close to ending. And a report yesterday said that the Seahawks are one of a group of teams that are pushing to sign AB now that he'll be eligible to return in Week 9. Look, we've heard these rumors before about a potential AB to Seattle move. Nice catch right there. Coach, you see this working out this time? Didn't work with the Raiders, didn't work with the Patriots. And would AB be a good fit on the Seahawks?
He really has a great opportunity to go and revive his career in Seattle. I think Pete has always been outstanding with dealing with a lot of different personalities. And one of the nice things about going to a successful team and a successful organization where you're not the guy is it's liberating. And I remember in New England when we brought Corey Dillon in and all the things that people had said about Corey, and in talking to Corey one day going out to practice, him saying how refreshing it was not to have to be out in front, not to have to be the guy. And it just gave him a chance to play and to showcase all the talents that he's always had that sometimes got overshadowed by other things. And Seattle gives Antonio Brown that opportunity. Now, that being said, Antonio's got to hold up his end of the bargain as well. Seattle's winning. They've got good chemistry. They've got a great thing going. You can't go in there and be disruptive. You can't go in there and be selfish. You have to go in and be willing to play a role and to contribute in whatever way they ask you to. And then that gives you the best chance next year to go capitalize on free agency and really start new. You know, I actually like Antonio Brown in Kansas City. I think that would be a great fit as well.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, so Coach, you kind of walked me right to where I was going to go, which wasn't the Chiefs, but it says on the bottom of the screen, would Antonio Brown be a good fit with the Seahawks? And much like our Julio Jones discussion yesterday, Brandon, remove Seahawks and put in almost any team in the league that's got a good quarterback that's going to the playoffs. And it's like, yeah, He'd be a good fit. How would Antonio Brown right now fit in Baltimore? Oh, it would make them wildly dangerous. What about Green Bay opposite Davante Adams? Oh, my God, it would terrify the rest of the NFC. Coach mentioned the Chiefs. So would he fit with the Seahawks? Of course he'd fit with the Seahawks. And I think potentially, Brandon, whomever signs him is getting the best version of him behavior-wise because he knows this is his last chance. And unlike Oakland, which gave up draft picks and a bucket of money to get him, so when they had to cut him, it hurt them greatly. Or New England, who gave up no draft picks, but a decent amount of money to get him, so when they had to cut him, it hurt their cap. Whomever he signs with next, it's all reward, no risk. He's going to sign for almost no money. I'm sure there will be almost no guarantees, and it's no draft picks. So if it doesn't work, you just move on. So I think he's a good fit with a lot of teams, but you can speak to why he might be a particularly good fit culture-wise in Seattle.
Yeah, I was there. That was one of my last stops, and one of the things that I realized that it was a good fit not only for me but for so many other big personalities coming in there because of two people, Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll has set the tempo there of what he wants and the type of culture. It's unbelievable that he is counter culture to almost everyone in the NFL. He actually wants you to be yourself. If you're not yourself, he'll walk up to you and say, "This is not why I brought you here." When you walk into that meeting room, there's music, there's freaking noise everywhere. It's almost uncomfortable for a guy coming in that's never seen anything like that because it's so counterculture to what happens in the NFL. Pete Carroll sets the boundary, says, look, just don't hurt the team. But if you want to tweet, if you want to YouTube, if you want to Instagram, do that. He may come out in the middle of practice. Well, I know what will happen. You'll come in the meeting room. He's going to have your tweet or your post in front of the entire team, and everybody's going to be laughing about it and dissecting it. So I really like this. I will say that the bigger question is not about is it a good fit, but is Antonio Brown willing to change? And I'm a guy sitting here today that the first part of my career, I was part of the problem in the locker room and when we weren't winning. But then the second half of my career, I was a part of the solution. So I've seen it. I felt it myself where guys are capable of change because I wanted to. That's the key. Is like, are you willing to change? Are you capable of change? And I think he is. And for that reason, I think that this will be a great fit for him. Russell Wilson will be a phenomenal teammate.
Okay. Well, I'm rooting for that he changes his ways, Brandon, because I don't think all of his tweets were going to be up. His previous tweets would be up on the board. But, Coach, if you're on Seattle and you're like, wow, more attention to the offense. We also got Josh Gordon waiting in the wings. Seattle's offense, there's nothing wrong with it. The thing is a speeding car that's just getting more souped up. Do you feel like it should be any emphasis on their porous defense that's allowing, and this is not a misprint, for one reason, because I'm right, the second reason that's audio and misprint is on print, 471 yards per game, worse than the NFL?
Look, it would be nice to be able to go get a player of Antonio Brown's caliber on defense, but that guy's not out there, and you just got to deal with the opportunities that are available, and it may just come to an arms race with Seattle where who can score more, and that's really where it's been. Just going back to Nick's point about there being no risk with bringing him in, I don't think that's necessarily true. There is a risk in the sense that if he becomes a distraction, and I know Nick doesn't believe in distractions, but if he comes in and you've got a great chemistry and he disrupts that chemistry, even if it's just internally, then that's the risk to me. It's not, is he a good player? We know he's a good player. The risk is more when you add a player like him to the mix, what does that do to the rest of the group that's really doing a lot of good things?
Yeah. Coach, and it's not that I don't believe in distractions. I think in large part distractions are often overblown. And so let me rephrase it just slightly. I don't want to say there's no risk whatsoever, because there is a possibility DK Metcalf, who's on his way to being one of the very best receivers in football, takes this the wrong way. and it disrupts things. Like, that is a possibility. My point is, from a team-building perspective, the Raiders took a massive risk and lost. From a team-building perspective, the Patriots took a slight risk via cap dollars and lost. The Seahawks would be taking no risk as far as money or draft picks. That would be risk-free. The chemistry stuff, Brandon, you can speak to. I think there is some risk, but we saw the Patriots cut him and just keep chugging along last year on their way to 11 wins.
And that's why I use the word counterculture, Coach, because this locker room is just set up so differently. Every locker room I've been in, 100%, there's going to be a big question mark. You know, guys are going to have their eyes open and watching his every move. But this culture in this locker room, they embrace and they lean into the dysfunction. Coach Carroll every single Monday give the guys an opportunity. Come up here, speak your piece. I was sitting there, Doug Baldwin, you think he's easy to deal with? Percy Harvin, you think he was easy to deal with? Richard Sherman. Coach Carroll does a phenomenal job of dealing with characters and guys with big, Michael Bennett. Like, think about the characters that he's had on his team. And every single day, Coach Carroll comes in and he just takes it in stride and he takes it one day at a time. And he actually creates an environment where guys can be themselves, but he also talks about it. Now, if you cross the line, and this is why I love Coach Carroll, you get cut right then. But everyone internally knows, like, yeah, you can be yourself. But they also know if you cross that line, Coach Carroll and Snyder's going to cut you.
Look, we're giving Antonio Brown a big benefit of the doubt, assuming that he is what you call a changed person, and he's going to go into a new organization and suddenly be unlike the guy that we saw in the last two organizations he played for. But let's just play this out. Nick, say Seattle does land Antonio Brown. And it works, and the chemistry works. You got an explosive offense there in Seattle. Then you look at that explosive offense on the team you root for, and I just wonder, who has the bigger offense at that point? Which offense do you like better, Seattle or Kansas City? I have to paint you in that corner. That's what
it's a fair question. I get it. You want to hold any team that could be great to the greatest, and I get it. They're the standard bearer of the NFL, and I assume will be for the next decade or so. I think, Coach, that Bills game was really interesting because the Bills went into that game against the Chiefs, and they said, our goal, our way to beat you, our best chance to beat you, is let's turn your running attack into Derrick Henry and the Tennessee Titans because we're so terrified of your passing attack. That wasn't an accident. That's what they planned to do all week leading up to the game. And as great as Russ is, and right now he's the MVP of the league, there's one quarterback in the league better than him, and that is Patrick Mahomes. Tyreek Hill is better than DK Metcalf. Kelsey's better than Olsen.
No, he's not.
So for all those reasons, Kelsey's wait. Who's not? Who's not?
DK Metcalf is the best receiver in football right now. No way. I love DK. That's a whole nother segment, Jenna. Well, let's not. Maybe we talk about it tomorrow. We break down some of the top receivers. Man.
Oh no.
Again, AB eligible to be reinstated to the NFL after week 8. Special guest joining us on the other side, Calais Campbell, here to talk about his team, the Ravens, and why he thinks they're the team to beat this year. First things first. Back here, first things first, talking some Baltimore Ravens. The team riding a 3-game win streak, thanks in large part to that defense, giving up the fewest points per game through 7 weeks. And one of the key members of that defense, AFC Defensive Player of the Week, Calais Campbell, who joins us now after his 3 sacks last week against Philly. Calais, good morning. Thanks for joining us again. Yeah. I want to start with why you're here. You're partnering with Old Spice to promote a new film about education. Tell us a little bit about your involvement and about the film.
Yeah, so the film's called Black Boys. It's a documentary that really is just kind of shine a light on the way it is for black kids in America right now. And, there's a big thing on education and trying to use the themes from that movie to raise their graduation rates. Old Spice has made a 10-year commitment to raising the graduation rates across the United States of America, NFL, and players like me to help really rise that initiative. I'm going to speak to some classrooms in the near future and just trying to really push, how Old Spice is trying to make that partnership and really make a difference in the community.
That's awesome, Calais. It's great partnership, and it's great work you guys are doing. I want to go to the field for a moment. You have a long list accolades, all-decade team, all-pro, Walter Payton Man of the Year. You might have done something for the first time, though, this past week, which is you directly got a guy fired. There's a new offensive guard playing for the Eagles. He lets you get Defensive Player of the Week, and they get rid of him. So I don't know if you need to send him something. But I am curious, as a veteran player and an elite player, we see this on the wide receiver corner matchup sometimes. A backup corner comes in and they're like, you feed that player. When you see a team's banged up on the offensive line or there's an inexperienced guy in front of you, how does that change your approach? Like, do you say, okay, this is a game that I can single-handedly take over?
Yeah, well, this is a unique situation because I remember when Jamon Brown was a rookie, he got drafted by the Rams, and I was in Arizona. And so I had familiarity with him. You know, I kind of knew his game a little bit. And so it allowed me to have an advantage. And, you know, him not having a lot of reps this season, he actually got better as the game went along. And, you know, I mean, I feel like, you know, sometimes teams, you know, it's a result-oriented business and they kind of move a little fast. But, he definitely got better as the game went along. He hasn't played much this year. And so he had to kind of work off the kinks. But, you know, I did see it as an opportunity. I feel like this is the first game where I really felt like my best too. So I think, you know, it's a combination of really getting it going and really feeling good, you know, being that it's a COVID year and the offseason being different, you know, it really took a while to really get the motor going. So, you know, felt good, and hopefully I can keep it going. Yeah, I'm really happy.
Yeah, big dog, 34, still getting it done. Unbelievable. Defensive Player of the Week, AFC Defensive Player of the Week, 3 sacks, 4 quarterback hits, 5 tackles. After that game, man, you tweeted that this team loves football. Am I reading a little bit too much in that, man? Tell me what that means, because that can mean a lot. That can mean a lot.
Oh, yeah, no, I didn't mean nothing against anybody else. You know, I've been a part of a lot of guys who love football. But there is a special kind of quality. I feel like the Ravens do a really good job of bringing in guys who really love the game. And there's, you know, it's not, you know, 10 or 20 guys. Everybody on this team has a severe love for the game of football, and it allows you to thrive and you put the work in. It doesn't really feel like work when you're out there grinding because everybody's out here having a good time.
It's good.
Calais, Ravens defense allowing 17 points a game, best in the NFL. And this is all being done in the backdrop of a historical season up for the offense. Most touchdowns, most points. Do you feel like this season, because it's been such an offensive explosion, that's extra challenging for you guys, or does it just feel like another season?
We played Kansas City Chiefs, and they put up a bunch of points in the last. You know, I mean, you know, in a desperate situation, really got their offense going and made some plays. You know, Carson Wentz, you know, I mean, you got to take a hat off to him. He made some incredible plays to get his team back in the ball game, and we had to fight to win it. But, you know, I feel like this defense, we're just scratching the surface of how good we can be, you know, with the offseason, the way things are going. We really didn't have a lot of time with each other. And, you know, having a lot of new parts with me and Derek Wolfe and having some rookies have to step up and make plays with Patrick Queen. You know, we really had to adapt fast. And we did a really good job. Our coaches, you have to take a hat off to our coaching staff. I mean, they did an incredible job preparing us. But it's still a unique offseason, and it takes a while to get going. And I feel like we're going to get a lot better as the season goes along.
All right, we're having a few technical difficulties hearing you, which is a bummer because we've got so many things we want to talk to you about. So we're going to get all that settled. But in the meantime, if we don't, you're on the bye. You got the Steelers next week. Want to wish you all the best of luck. You're going up against, as Brandon would call it, a behemoth of a team in the league right now. So that'll be a great competition. Calais, thank you so much for hanging out with us this morning. We are going to take a turn, take break, exactly. And thank you again to Old Spice. Calais, thank you. Take a break, talk some Dallas Cowboys and the latest on what's going on there in Big D. First things first, back after this. Cowboys now, and not in a good way. Yesterday, we talked about anonymous Cowboys players reportedly criticizing Mike McCarthy's coaching staff for being unprepared, for being, you know, not good at their jobs. As my kid would say, that's an owie. McCarthy was asked about it again yesterday. In addition to saying these issues should be handled in-house, he also said, quote, I think the key word there is anonymous. Our resident awesome dancer, Coach Eric Mangini, back with us now. Coach, who do you think is more responsible for the Cowboys' struggles at this point? The coaches or the players?
Well, first of all, Jenna, I want to know what was on that playlist, because I want to make sure that I delete it. And I don't know what I felt. I don't know what I felt more uncomfortable with, your dancing or Ben Gundy's handles.
Coach, second of all?
Question, I'm speechless after that dancing. But in terms of this topic, the whole idea of anonymous comments is weak. It's weak, and it probably didn't come from a player. It probably came from an agent of a disgruntled player who either thinks he's not getting played enough, thinks he's not getting played the correct way, doesn't want to be accountable for the lack of success that they've had in Dallas. And look, it's the same thing as last year. They couldn't wait to run out Jason Garrett, right? Jason was the problem, so they bring in a new head coach. And this guy doesn't know what to do. You know, he's got 31 years of experience, but he has no idea how to coach football. Mike Nolan has 39 years of experience, but he has no idea how to coach football. There's 6 games into the season. That it's ridiculous for if someone did do this anonymously, if a player do this anonymously, it's just weak. You have every opportunity to go in and talk to the head coach and tell him what your concerns are, to tell him what you think should be changed or could be changed. And he will listen. And if you don't feel like you're going to get satisfaction there, you can talk to the captains. There's so many avenues to travel down before you start putting anonymous comments in the paper. It's the sign of a lack of character, lack of leadership, lack of being a teammate. It's just plain weak and wrong.
Wow. Coach.
Yeah, Coach, I agree with you on that one. It's absolutely unacceptable. Look, I would actually be a problem if you were my coach and I was in this locker room, I was your wide receiver, and this happened. I would actually become part of the problem, because you would have probably went into the team meeting room and said, guys, this can never happen. I would have stood up and I would have said, who said it? Put your name on it. And you'd be like, Brandon, please sit down. Sit down. But, Coach, I think it's both the player and the coach. I truly believe that. And all I heard you talk about was, well, it's the player's agent or it's the player. I just think what you said is critical. You have to be a coach willing to listen to your players. Some coaches don't. And it sounds like you are. Can you take me into any of those moments where one of your players came to your office and was like, look, Coach, I don't think this is working out. This is the tone in the locker room. You know, I think we need to fix it. Did you take it in, and what did you do?
It was always the case, whether it was when I was a defensive backs coach and Lawyer Malloy or Ty Law or Rodney Harrison had ideas on different ways to do things, we'd always talk about that. Or as a defensive coordinator, if Mike Vrabel or Brewski or any of those guys spoke up and said they had something that they thought could be a different way, we would talk about it.
So that was natural. That's good.
Well, it's just part of having a relationship. It's part of all working towards the same goal. The same thing as a head coach. You're constantly working with your quarterback. You're constantly working with your team captains. Your goal is not to be adversarial with your players. Your goal is to get to the best possible situation for everybody involved, because we all depend on each other. All of our success is tied into each other, and it's in my best interest to help you be as successful as you possibly can be as a player. And when you start pointing fingers, it's the classic trait of a loser mentality. It's not me, right. It's you. It's not me, it's you. No. What can you do personally? Yeah. What can you do personally to make things better?
So, listen, on this full spectrum of things I like and don't like doing on television, on the furthest left bound of things I like the least, it's watching that clip of Jenna dancing. On the furthest right bound of things I like the most, it's blaming coaches for a team failing. I love it. It wakes me up in the morning. This guy didn't know how to go for 4th downs. This guy butchered the clock. This guy doesn't understand who to keep on the court at the same time. Doesn't matter the sport. Get me to about Game 5 of the World Series, and I'm coming for one of these guys. Haven't decided who yet, but it's coming. With that said, this is outrageous by whichever Cowboys player or players said it. There are plenty of times, Wilds, to blame coaches. When you have allowed 36.5 points per game, the worst in football, by half a touchdown, that ain't it. When you have committed the most turnovers in the league, 15, and forced the fewest turnovers, 3, that ain't it. It is not coaches' faults that Zeke all of a sudden started becoming a fumbler, that Michael Gallup's dropping touchdowns, that the safeties don't understand that what, honestly, I think they named the position safety just so if you don't know football, it's like, well, what am I supposed to do? I'm probably supposed to make sure everybody's safe. Go far back. Like, that's not coaching. This is the players being terrible. And so there are plenty of times, Wilds, I want to blame coaches. The Cowboys situation
That's the greatest
ain't
take
one
ever.
of them. That's the greatest take ever. And it's just passing the buck. And so I find it as embarrassing as coach does.
All right, just to play the other side of it. Mike McCarthy said he was prepared to play the Cardinals. The Cardinals came into Jerry World and smashed the Cowboys. So if I'm the player, I can be like, you know what? Our coach, who said he was prepared, turns out he's not prepared. Oh, you're gonna yell. Granted, go to the media. Like, it's just the truth. And if I, as a player, don't think I have the avenue to tell the coach or tell the captain because the captain likes the coach, or I feel like, I don't know, I'm taking the other side of this one, Coach. I haven't seen anything put on tape where the coaches are immune from criticism. And if I'm a player, maybe I don't see the avenue. Maybe I made the wrong decision. Maybe I don't see the avenue to set that message.
Well, that take is a little bit like Jenna's dancing. They're at a place where the coach isn't all powerful. The GM is the owner. The GM is the owner. No, it was great, Jenna. So if you're not happy with the recourse that you're getting from dealing with the head coach, you can go talk to the owner. It's not like a totalitarian regime where there is no other avenue. You have another avenue before you go to the media. And you're telling me that Jerry Jones wouldn't listen to a disgruntled player? Of course he would.
Yep. All right, let's switch gears and talk about a little bit of Le'Veon Bell. Brett Favre chimed in on the Chiefs signing the all-pro running back. Not a huge fan of the move. Guys, listen to what Favre had to say. He said, well, they don't need him. They've got a good thing going, and sometimes adding a player of Le'Veon's caliber can do more harm than good. I'm not saying it will, but, think about it this way. What can they do with Le'Veon that they are not doing already, other than feeling the need to give him the ball to please him, which is really all that you're putting him in there for? So, Brandon, take it away. You agree with Favre? Where do you fall on this?
I do agree with Favre, but I don't think that it will happen in this situation. But I agree with him because I experienced this. I realized when I was too high strung for wanting the ball or being involved, I would disrupt the rhythm of the play caller. I knew that I could disrupt the rhythm of the quarterback. What you want is your quarterback to drop back and just feel free going through his progressions, going through his reads, and making the decision that he think is best. But when you have a high-strung wide receiver, a player that wants the ball, the thing that goes on in a quarterback's head is like, man, if I don't get this guy the ball, then when I get to the sideline, is he going to yell at me? Or are we going to have an argument? Or is he going to pout? Is he going to shut it down? So those are the things that a high-strung player who wants the ball can potentially disrupt when it comes to that offense. The offensive coordinator, you want that offensive coordinator to say, you know what, I'm in a rhythm, I'm calling it up. I don't care who gets the ball, we just want the W. But if you have a guy's like, look, I haven't touched the ball in a quarter, 2 quarters, or the last 4 games, I really haven't been productive. Get me the ball. He's gonna be like, I know I got to get this guy the ball because he's gonna come in my office and Monday and Wednesday. It just disrupts everything you're trying to do on offense. So for me, I do understand what Brett Favre is saying. However, in this situation, I don't see that happening. You have a veteran head coach, and then you also have a quarterback who has set the standard, saying that I distribute the ball equally. Whoever's open is going to get the ball. Yes, I have my plays. Yes, I know my guys. But at the end of the day, they have so many weapons, and they do a great job of getting everyone involved. And you got to imagine that they had a conversation and said, Le'Veon, this is how we're going to use you. Sign off on it. He signed off on it. Insert Le'Veon. He'll be fine.
Yeah, to your point, Brandon, it goes back to our Antonio Brown discussion. If you add a player that could potentially disrupt the chemistry, then yeah, that's an issue and that's a risk you take. I don't think this is that situation. Watching Le'Veon's press conference, I felt like he was excited to go there and play a role. Yeah. He was excited for whatever opportunity that he got, and he wanted to win. And to me, that is the perfect situation for a team. When you're adding Le'Veon Bell, and I know he was a disappointment in New York, but remember, 2 years ago, he had 66 catches for the Jets. It's not like he had no production whatsoever, but now Le'Veon Bell is an afterthought as part of the weapons that you have to stop. Yeah. And if he's a fraction of the guy that he was, it just gets to the point where what are you going to take away? It'll eventually come to the point where you're going to spin the Rolodex against Kansas City because you're not really taking away anything. You just got to hope something hits, because it doesn't matter where they go to, they can be explosive. I really like his attitude going to Kansas City. I think it'll be liberating for him, and I think it'll give him a chance to revive his career.
Yeah, I think the key is we got a window into what matters to Le'Veon Bell, as Coach was alluding to, by seeing which team he chose. He could have gone to Miami. Listen, I've lived in Kansas City for 20 years of my life. It's a great town. You want to raise a family. Low cost of living. Second most fountains of any city in the world. But if I was young, rich, and single, I think I'd pick Miami if I'm worried about nightlife. Right? Yeah, it is true. Only Venice has more. Look it up. It's fountain capital of the United States. Look it up. And so the fact that he chose the Chiefs over Miami and the lifestyle, or the Chiefs over the Bears, where he would have just gotten the touches. The Bears desperately would use him more than the Chiefs will. So it speaks to me, Wildes, that he's putting a focus on winning, and he knows he doesn't think he's going to Kansas City and going to be the #1 option. Right? So I feel like, Jenna, that we have an idea of what's important to him by the fact that it'd be one thing if he was on waivers and the Chiefs claimed him and he didn't have a say in it. But he chose the Chiefs, which gives me optimism it's going to work.
For a reason. Coach, you want to virtually dance with me as we go break?
Oh, no.
Join me, Coach.
I really don't.
Coach, join me. This one's my favorite move, when I pump out as if that's the... Come on, Coach, give me something that we can run viral. No.
Can we call this Eric's Tears? Because I'm crying.
Eric Mangini, thank you so much. Talk some Browns on the other side. Watch this part. Ready? I look to the right, but wait, hold on a second. I'm going to also look to the left.
You're not ready.
I'm an
America's not ready. Play the video, guys.
What's up? Time now for stories to start your morning, sponsored by Ram Trucks, built to serve. And our top story this morning, Browns reeling after a tough loss to the Steelers last week. Yesterday, a very stoic Baker Mayfield was asked about all the criticism his team is hearing in Cleveland. Take a listen.
I don't give a damn what they say. It's within this building. We know we can be better. I know I can be better, and that's how it's going to be handled. The outside noise doesn't matter. They get paid to talk. We get paid to do our work. So that's how it's going to be handled.
Nick, what do you think about this Browns team? You think they're criticized too much or too little?
Well, the fact that we're talking about this is the answer to the question. The answer is revealed in the question. It's too much. They're 4-2. This isn't... Anybody picking the Browns to go to the Super Bowl before the year? I didn't see it. Show me the... I follow all the prognostications. I didn't see it. Were any Browns players saying we're going to be a 13-3 team, this division is ours? I didn't hear that. But show me if I missed the clips. They did what folks were demanding they do last year. They were quiet. They went about their business. And through 6 games of the season, there are only 7 teams in the league better than them. But they have a polarizing quarterback who people, some folks, my guy Colin Cowherd's one of them, who you guys know how much I adore Colin. Colin hadn't liked Baker since Oklahoma and will always pick at it. And he's a polarizing guy ever since he planted the flag when he was in college. And the way he conducts himself. So we are going to find ways to, when they play well, when they beat up the Colts, who everyone loved going into that game. How often is it discussed? Never. But when they get crushed by a great team in Pittsburgh, and then Baker says, I'm not listening to the noise, we say, well, he says he's not listening to the noise. But I brought in a body language expert here who tells me the way his eyes rolled, he actually is listening to the noise. Like we're a bad political show. And Odell, which I know we'll get to, will always be polarizing. He's brought some of that onto himself. Odell, who has been a perfect citizen this year, is finally telling America, you know what, I'm done trying to change who I am. I am who I am. So, of course, they're criticized too much. There's 4 teams in the AFC with a better record than them. 7 in the whole league with a better record than them. They are not underachieving. But because folks don't like some of the people on their team, we're going to find ways to tear them down.
Yeah, but the issue, Nick, is that when you're on a losing team and you're in a losing organization, then you're criticized too little. They haven't had a winning season since 2007. We just talked about how long it took for them to start a season 4-1. So I don't care if it's the Cleveland Browns, the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Jets. Like, if you're not a good team, then this comes with the business. This comes with it. This is a part of being a pro.
But they're good this year.
This is why his words, it's not about like, okay, I got to answer this question. It's how he's answering it. Like he has a chip on his shoulder. It comes with the business. You get to a point as an athlete where you know the tough questions are going to come, so you do it in a way where it's like, you know what? It is what it is. We didn't play great last week. We started off really good. We'll get back there. All you got to do is follow the example of some of the vets around the league. That's what I did when I got in the league. I didn't know how to talk in front of the media. I just watched every single time Peyton Manning was in front of the cameras. I watched Peyton Manning, and I said, I'm going to do exactly what he does. And all he has to do is watch Cam Newton. Look around the league. Cam Newton just played the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos without a quarterback, and they lost. And what did he say? I know everybody think the sky is going to fall down, but you know what? I'm gonna come to work again, like all the other guys, and we'll get this thing corrected.
Brandon, here's the problem. Here's the problem. If Baker said, I know everyone thinks the sky is falling, I'm going to get an umbrella. You know what the question is? Why is Baker Mayfield listening to the outside noise? We can always phrase it. Why does he know everyone thinks the sky is falling? Why is he feeding into it? Why is Baker... We can always do this. And by the way, and Cam, by the way...
But here's the thing. You just talked about...
It took him a decade to refine this.
Correct. But you just went back to his time in Oklahoma. He's been a high-profile guy. So, I don't care what they think. Only thing that matters is what we're doing inside. Well, you better care, because those days are over where they're letting quarterbacks develop over 5, 6, 7 years. If you don't get it within 3 years, they're drafting someone else, because that is an issue. We know that this team, that the way this team is set up is not to, we drafted our guy and this quarterback is going to lead the way. No, they're saying, let's run the ball. Let's only throw it 15, 20 times a game. This is not modern football. You got to be able to go for 300 and something yards week in and week out, and he's not that guy. So that's why they're not even set up for success long term.
Well, Baker wasn't the only guy criticized yesterday. Odell also chiming in on the critics as well. He was seen on the sideline. Remember, his shoes were off. He was yelling at fans. He threw his helmet down after he got pulled. Take a listen to what he had to say about it.
I'm pissed, and at this point, I really don't care to keep trying to make myself look like a good guy into the world and all that, because I am who I am. I got pulled out of the game. The coach said this was the best decision. You know, it's 8 minutes left, and for me, I'd rather take my ass whooping like a man. I'd rather take my win the same way. I want to be out there to the last whistle competing. I'm kind of over, trying to play the right thing because, I love them to death, but there's people who have plenty of rings and considered the GOAT, and they do things on the sideline, and other people do things on the sideline, and they get away with it, and it's classified as passion because they may have something behind their legacy or whatever it is. And to me, bro, we love it so much. It means that much.
All right, Brandon, what was your reaction to what Odell had to say?
Woof. There's a lot here. I mean, we can spend an entire show breaking down Odell, wide receivers. 100% there's a double standard. He's talking about Tom Brady. Yes, but here's the challenge when you're an emotional player and you're an emotional person, right? We see Tom Brady do this, but it doesn't mess with his production. And there's an argument that there's like Odell, when his emotions get the best of him, he doesn't play well. When his emotions get the best of him, it may disrupt guys on the sideline. And I'm saying that from experience. So when you look at Tom Brady, when he does that, guys get better. When Odell does that, sometimes guys get better, sometimes they don't. And I just think that when you're an emotional player and that's what's gotten you to this point, it's a very difficult thing to do, is like to manage it. When do I turn it on? When do I turn it off? And I think Odell has gotten better over the years, and it's just a big struggle for guys like that. You got to think about it. The things that make him who he is the emotion. It's unmatched. The passion, the drive, that dog mentality. But then there's times where it can just cross the line and it can affect people in the building. So I think Odell has done a tremendous job since he's left the New York Giants. And even there, he was getting better. But there's still some work to be done.
Do you think this is all just a PR problem, Nick? That the Browns just have a bad PR strategy? That Baker says things, you're like, well, that's not the right PR move. And then Odell took his shoes off, and I said earlier this week, I was like, oh, that's an interesting story. That's going to be a thing. And then Brandon, in the meeting, you're like, no, man, those cleats are super uncomfortable.
Take your shoes off.
Like, you take your shoes off. I would take them off too, and it just wasn't a story because maybe there wasn't a camera on my feet.
Hold on.
But like,
right, so Jenna, what else did he do? Jenna, what else did he do?
So listen, I know what you're going to say. It doesn't matter what he does. You're going to say all players do it. But
Jenna,
it's a combination of slamming the thing down, taking the shoes off, yelling at someone in the crowd. Like, if it was just the shoes, I get it. But it was a moment. And right or wrong, it was a moment from him. And people are going to criticize him. He is a polarizing figure. And now, listen, I loved what he said.
But that
you want to be in there till the end, so you can have great.
No, and this is where...
No, it's not.
And this is
no,
where
it's not. That's your job. That's your job, Nick. No, that's your job. That's the thing that we're missing. It's not just about football. When you make it to the NFL, you don't just develop as a football player. You got to develop as a person. You develop as a husband. You develop as a father. You develop in how you speak.
Brandon,
because here's the deal. Odell knows this. Hold on 1 second. 1 second. This is what we got to get it as athletes. You know who you are. You know you're an emotional player. Look how I'm talking now. I know I'm emotional. So you know what I knew is that when we were losing a game, if Jay Cutler threw a pick, that there was going to be 6. I knew exactly how many cameras would be on my face. Any change of momentum in a game, there's going to be 6 cameras on my face. So what do? Because you know you're highly scrutinized, you sit there. You don't give them anything. And that's what the greats do. You got to develop in that area. So, yes, it's Odell. Is it unfair? Sometimes, yes. But at the end of the day, you got to continue to develop. Tom Brady, yes, he's emotional, but he continues to develop.
Brandon, all right, I got it now. I got it. And I've never, you're arguing against a point I didn't make, okay? Odell has developed. He has improved. He's not fixed. It's not 100% better, but as you said, he's growing. He's improving. He's learning. And we just pick guys that we are going to eviscerate. Was Odell Beckham Jr. the only player this week?
But here's my thing. Why are we arguing about it? Because it's the job.
Of course not.
It's the job. No. What you're saying is like, don't defend it because it's the job. That's your job as a pro.
Last year, we were told for the Browns, just win games. And this year, they are winning games. So we're talking about shoes and Baker Mayfield's body language.
I wish we had another segment.
Because they're a fun team to dissect. That's it. We're never going to be fair with these guys.
They're polarizing players on a polarizing team. Much more to discuss. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow.